AskReddit by my ERI. What scientific experiment would you run if money and ethics weren't an issue? I'd raise a group of children from birth to adulthood, kinda a Truman Show thing, without any contact with music and see how it affects their lives and personalities. I'd make sure everything else would be normal but music would be edited out of their lives. What could be really interesting is if you only played the music in odd time signatures like 5/8 or 7/8 and amp, saw how their music developed from there. Our music is based mainly around 4/4 and 3/4 etc, so it would likely be really different. That Doctor Who episode wherein they bred artificially grown humans, infect them each with all known diseases so that they can develop antibodies cures. Deleted. Not necessarily a scientific experiment, but a series of experiments to see how you can control nerve sensations from the brain and whether Ripu can create VR that can perfectly mimic the sensation of touch whilst being motionless. As if you're moving and touching something in a virtual world but not in the real world. Is that even possible? Calm down, Akihiko Kaiba. Redesigning the human sinus. I wish to find a way to modify the body to fix that mess of an airway. Sometimes I think about how there's just hollow cavities behind your face and get really anxious. Specifically the Mayo Clinic illustration that comes up when you Google sinusitis. That shit makes my chest tight. Deleted. I'd especially love to see them on someone born in such an environment if possible. Have a baby human raised by apes, basically to see if Tarzan's scenario would occur and the human is able to communicate fully with the apes. There have actually been a lot of cases of wild children who were raised with animals, most often dogs as they are the most likely to bond with humans. But I believe there may have been one with monkeys. Look up feral children and you'll find plenty of articles and stories. LS told with the IR photos too. Deleted. We are the Borg. You will be assimilated. Your biological and technological distinctiveness will be added to our own. Resistance is futile. Double quote. The Gilligan's Island experiment. Shipwreck 100 people with vastly different backgrounds, wealth disparity, and personalities on a remote island. See what kind of civilization grows from it. Then do it 50 more times to check results against each other. Someone wrote a book about this. Basically there are a number of case studies. You might find it interesting. Look it up. They are called shipwreck societies. Edit. Wow, this blew up during Thanksgiving. The name of the book is Blueprint by Nick Christakis. The link is IN equals UTF-8 and AMP. KID equals and AMP. SR equals. Enjoy all. Happy Thanksgiving. How would the world react to a mountain of 100 billion pennies for free in the middle of a major area? This sounds so dumb but is really fucking interesting if you think about it. Oh man, I love this question. There are a ton of geo and guinea ring experiments that I'd love to run if they weren't both 1. Illegal, 2. Insanely expensive, 3. Non-zero possibility of death and destruction. Iron fertilization. Basically dumping tons of iron dust into the ocean to cause an algae bloom, which should sequester a bunch of carbon and help mitigate global warming. Cloud seeding, space mirrors, dropping a nuke into a volcano. You know. Normal stuff. What are the downsides of iron fertilization? How athletes from different sports react to fight or flight. Even further, would they fight differently than others? Deleted. Dinosaur cloning. What else is there to do? Humans have quite a few movies that tell you that dinosaur cloning is a bad idea on Earth. Genetic altering of humans. I don't currently have an issue with anyone that wants to do it on themselves, however to do it to an embryo or through the parent's DNA to see what we could do to advance humans would be amazing alterations to intelligence, memory, physical attributes, gills to swim underwater, visual alterations to see the full light spectrum and hearing for the full sound spectrum, immunity to all diseases and harmful bacteria, ability to eat almost anything for sustenance. Definitely this and cloning. If we had no qualms about the ethical implications, we would make leaps and bounds in biological sciences. I'd want to see what a society of children would do on their own if they were alone from birth. Of course, adjustments would have to be made for when they were infants, but beyond that, how would they develop language, ethics, mythology, culture? And as they got older, how would they handle coming of age without adult role models? Though unethical, I think an experiment like that would answer a lot of questions about sociology, psychology, anthropology, and philosophy. It would be like watching the beginning of human society from scratch, with no external influence. Edit. Yes, I have read Lord of the Flies, however that is a work of fiction. Edit 2. You guys have a lot of brilliant ideas on how to improve this experiment and a lot of true stories to make hypotheses on. I'm really enjoying reading this thread. Kill the pig. Cut his throat. Kill the pig. Bash him in. See if a monkey tribe could become dominant over the rest by training them to make and use weapons and other primitive technology. Also interested in seeing if they would take their newfound knowledge and begin to expand an empire. So one thing they did learn about chimps is that they don't teach each other. They often are observers. A monkey see monkey do situation. Humans teach other, but we also have an inherent trust in others when we are young, so we trust what we are being taught is true. Humans as adults will teach each other and form ideally mutually beneficial relationships. It is what gave us a huge advantage in developing material cultures like stone tools being made in a similar pattern by different groups of people. We learn from each other more than other great apes than just when we are young. If one individual is taught to make a spear, it won't go back to its troop and it won't proactively teach others to make a spear for the benefit of the group, but the others who see it make a spear will make their own after watching the first chimp do it. I've always wanted to try to breed a winter blooming rose. Ethics are fine, but the cost of having that many roses in a hothouse and the decades of selective breeding most likely required to accomplish it would cost an astronomical amount, so I'm sticking with it. This is one of the most interesting replies I've read that isn't cruel or obscure. It seems so simple and achievable, yet I fully understand the ridiculous amount of money and work involved as you described it, to achieve the desired outcome. Near-death experiences, and what people see. So basically I'd want to kill a bunch of people then bring them back to life. I'm sure a lot of them wouldn't make it back. Ever seen the OA? CRISPR the absolute fuck out of some kids and make some next level humans that can run stupid fast and jump crazy high, then make the superhuman Olympics trademark sign and figure out what humans are really capable of. Edit. Oh shit, first gold. You and your offspring will be exempt from my CRISPR trials. This is very different from what I just read about winter blooming roses. I want to send someone to space without a spacesuit. I've read about everything that can happen. I just want to see it on film. How children develop when occasionally microdosing LSD. Or how they develop when the mom takes LSD and more psychoactive drugs while pregnant. How long a decapitated head stays conscious. All we have are anecdotes that might have been exaggerated. I've always wanted a definitive answer, but you know, ethics. It's been done 7-10 seconds, so you gotta start planning on your last words now, you won't have time then. My current is I'm going to head out. Brain transplants from humans to animals and vice versa. I'm thinking that the physical biology is too different for that specific cross-species surgery to work. Maybe start between humans? Do a swap and see if they fare. I will make 5 subjects of sane and healthy mind placed in a facility with 5 psychopaths, insane murderers. They will have group activities in a pair of 2 from each group, and the activities will be of 2 types, moral and immoral. Then I will conduct results about how much these activities affect the subjects in both groups. Edit. They are not in a prison. They are just being volunteers. Prison is totally different scenario and the Stanford Prison Experiment, https://en.m.wiki/stanford_prison_experiment had totally different outcomes. These group of 2 will go through a murder activity, but psychopaths are not allowed to murder their partner or anyone other in the experiment. This would be very interesting. I think it would make a big difference how the psychopaths became that way. Nature or nurture? If nature, I think they'd have a higher chance of meeting somewhere in the middle. If it's genetic, we might not see much movement on that side. I've actually thought a ton about this. I would put 2 people through the exact same conditions the entire life. Now I'm not talking just similar scenarios, but everything from the weather inside the womb to the humans they interact with to the wind every day, and I would see if they are the same. Essentially, if humans are born with personalities or if we develop them through little things all our life, essentially the butterfly effect. TBH, this probably wouldn't even be possible with infinite money, but it would be cool. I would really love to read a paper about this experiment. TBH. Have an Olympics where every single athlete is drugged to an insane level. I think it would raise what is possible by today's standards drastically. Deleted. Deleted. There is a pesky problem with babies being unable to survive without human interaction. Raise a child without ever punishing or awarding them. Just let them do whatever they want. And then see what happens to their behavior when they age. They will still be punished and rewarded by their environment. This will only answer the question to what environment was the kid born in, rather than, perhaps, breaking down inherent genetic aspect of behavior. Pretty much any Vault-Tec experiment. Deleted. I'd like to clone several sets of baby Hitlers and see how they grow up in different environments. Some can include a loving family, the kind that you barf at because they are so perfect. A Jewish family. An artistic family that encourages his talent. An abusive family similar to the one he grew up with. A family of scientists. And finally, the most unethical environment, a family of politicians. And also a second set of clone baby Hitlers, so we can finally solve which percentage of people would kill baby Hitler. I'd love to pit elite Madden gamers vs NFL play callers and see who is better at game management and play calling. Hail Mary every fucking time, they'll never see it coming. I'd run a serial killer contest. First person to successfully kidnap and kill 50 people receives $10 million 1 year after the last kill, if they are not caught by authorities and if they can prove the killings. How many persons would undertake this? How many victims would there be? Can I just say, if they created a show series with this plot, I'd definitely watch it. I would breed and engineer dogs to become more intelligent, until they can understand the concept of I am coming back soon. Don't worry, they deserve it for helping us get this far as a species. Where are my balls, Summer? I train gorillas in weightlifting, really see how tanked they can get. Boost them with steroids along the way. After that, I take my army of beasts, pump them full of cocaine, and let them loose in an empty shopping mall. Wanna see which stores they like and which ones they don't. You know, for science and shit. Edit. I've had some fantastic input from you geniuses. To add, the gorillas will be trained in all beef up exercises, even though science is against me on this one. We're gonna throw some PCP in with the cocaine. Cybernetic hearts to handle the load of coke, yada, yada, yada. Thought I had more on this. Oh. And the mall is empty because I'm not a freaking murderer, you guys. Quit trying to kill everyone. Not all science is about death.
Jeez. Jamie, pull that up. Edit. For the uninitiated, https://www.youtube.com/watch?VLTFGBCE-VPK close bracket. To measure the effect on development of humankind by eliminating the least intelligent 5% of the human population every year based on monthly standardized testing. Damn, this film sounded great till I found out Logan Paul was in it. Iron Man suit. Ethics don't even need to be ignored. I just really want a complete Iron Man suit with all the weapons, flight and FRIDAY. Edit. You guys seem to be worried about how I'm going to power the suit. All Iron Man suits have an arc reactor built into the chest, even the Mk1. I asked for a suit, so I'm probably gonna make something similar to the arc reactor built into the chest. Deleted. I've always been really curious what the results of the Holocaust twin experiments would be if they were run by a sane person. If I didn't have to worry about the fact that I was slaughtering a bunch of children, which very much goes against my morals, I'd recreate those. Do you have some particular experiment in mind? Basically all of Mengel's twin experiments I heard of, aside from being of course horrible, made no sense whatsoever. The only one I know of that seems like it would give borderline meaningful data is the one about carefully measuring the bodies of twins to find out which traits are hereditary and which ones aren't. Perhaps not coincidentally, it is also pretty much the only one that does not seem pointless cruelty for cruelty's sake. Put 100 babies from different countries on an island with a bunch of mute caretakers. Then see what their language would sound like. There is actually something like this. I don't have a link or anything, but a king sent some kids to a mute caregiver and they were isolated. The goal here was to see what the true language was. They decided upon Egyptian because a kid said the Egyptian word for bread, but I assume it was just the rambling of a crazy person. Put a baby in a pure white room at room temperature and find a way keep them alive with no human interference. What would they do for their whole life? It would fail to thrive and probably die. Or just not develop at all and likely be similar to a vegetable but moving and breathing. No personality, no speech, its brain would probably actually be underdeveloped, so it would have an intellectual delay. ITD have an intellectual delay anyway due to lack of learning. I would try to raise mentats, Dune style. More specifically, I would take young children and subject them to an extremely demanding teaching and testing regime. Then I would use the results to try to find out, as early as possible, which children would fare better, and improve the quality of the teaching and conditioning, largely to make their first allegiance be to the school diet. After a few decades, I think that we might get a system to generate geniuses pretty much on demand, and naturally, the best of them would be tasked with leading and refining further the teaching. Which prescription drugs aren't really dangerous to mix with alcohol, and to what dosage can you be closest to death without dying so I can get litty? I mean, that's generally out there already. Be informed and be careful. https://www.irawid.org/ Problem is, it can be a different experience for each person. I'd love to see heavy research done around recreational drug use of all kinds. The human body lives to get high, and we'll never be able to fix that until we know more about what, why, how everything really works between the body, brain, and genuine drug experiences. We're getting there, slowly but surely. Stanford prison experiment the size of the prison industrial complex. Throw two groups of toddlers, one boys and the other girls, on two separate islands. Provide them food via robots and not teach them anything regarding gender, sexuality, race, language, etc., and see how they develop, and never mention to them the opposite sex and have them be racially diverse too. It would answer so many questions regarding psychology. That is sexual orientation a product of nature or nurture? Are humans born with innate gender roles? Are humans naturally tribal and or xenophobic, etc.?
Edit. Thanks for the silver and gold. A couple of people confusing attraction towards the opposite sex with desire to procreate. Some gay people want to have kids too. You would need a third island mixed with boys and girls as a control group and compare how each society changes. Breed bears down to little pet-sized lap bears. Maybe 50 pounds. Polar bears. Black bears, grizzly, panda, you name it. Is it too much to ask to have my own little bear buddy? He would go everywhere with me, roll around, hang on my back, wear sunglasses, ride shotgun, hug me when I'm upset. The scientific community has failed us. We have pugs but no lap bears? Bullshit. I wanna see if the same franchise of a restaurant chain in demographically similar areas would have differing amounts of profit based on whether they let the employees be mean to customers if they want. Honestly, I'd like to see to what degree humans could be bred for certain traits. Sheer size and strength, being small and agile. Think of the massive amount of variety in dog breeds and then transfer that to people. It could even be attempted for crazy stuff like temperament, inclination and instincts. Someone who's got crazy situational awareness because they come from a line of hunters whose lives are in danger at all times vs someone who was bred and raised to be a leader or something. People who grow tons of hair, breed them together vs people with little to none. See what they look like in 200 generations. That, or do whatever's necessary to figure out teleportation. And closed system ecosystems. And weird stuff regarding relativity in time. I'd like to know what people would really do for a Klondike bar. Real life Hunger Games. What would happen if you stuck a group of sterile narcissists on an island and made them create a society without social media? What would the resulting hierarchy look like? How would they create a social structure? What rules would be dictated by them? How would they act around other people that would manipulate them as well? I think basic natural instincts would kick in, defining a leader and go from there. Soft target schools. To see whether a school where people are trained and have guns is safer or less targeted than a school that does not allow firearms. I don't know how it would be done, but someone had mentioned it to me and I've always wondered how you would test it. How many shrimp do you have to eat before you make your skin turn pink?